Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another amazing evening and an amazing month of the theme is honor, 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 honor. So I'm so excited about our guest. It seems like forever. But I know you were here several months ago, but it still seems like forever. I'm going to do all the introductions. I'm going to do everything that we need to do. But first, we need to say hello to everybody. So let us say hello. Michelle, my belle. Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Dale, good to see you. Good to see you here. Ellen Jane and Angela. Hello. Hello, Angela. Vicky, hello. Thank you for joining. Priscilla, la, 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 la. Hello. And Michelle Buckley, good evening. Oh my gosh. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning across the pond. And Sarah May from the UK is here to see you, Lisa. So super, super nice. Thanks, Sarah, for being here. I know it's late. Joyce, hello. And Dolores says, promise not to make me cry.
Oh,
She's cute. She is cute. Dina, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thanks, everybody, so much for being here. We appreciate it. I know it's summertime and the mood is easy. I know it's that summertime, and I know that people are busy, and that's why I do these during the summer on Wednesdays. But let me tell you right off the top of the bat, sorry, starting September, I believe it's September 16th. I think that's a Saturday. We're going to go back to Saturdays in the early fall. Um, Pat Johnson, good to see you, my friend. Paula, hello. Thank you for being here. And Dolores says, hot in the city. It is hot. It was 92 here, which is so unlike us.
as
92. That's Chicago weather. That's like when I was living in Chicago, except it was humid and gross. And 92, I would be like not even going outside. I'm like, no, thank you, no. Anyway, so thank you all for being here. I am so excited to have you here, Lisa. And for those of you who don't know, Lisa Noland-Shalosky is not only an amazing woman, an amazing soul sister friend, um, but she has been through a lot, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But she's a trance channel. She's a psychic medium. She is a master teacher in Lisa Williams' um, international school. I'm going to call it International School of Design. I know that's not it, but International School of Psychic Development. And you are just a good-hearted person. And I wanted you to be our first one to talk about honoring. I think we all get challenges. We all have those things that we've been through, and we're like, oh, well, how do we do this? And how do we do that? And, but we don't applaud ourselves for going through it. And, for you being so spot on with so many people, how do you honor your intuition while you went through cancer? How do you even like get hints while you're getting treatment and doing all that stuff? And it's something that I wanted to talk about. But for those of you who don't know, Lisa and I met at a Celebrate Your Life event. She just happened to manifest the a way to get there and how to get there, and it was just amazing. We met, and I'm like, I feel like I know you. And then we were in a class together, in a workshop together with Denise Lynn, and we were in this group together with past lives. And of course, she and I went to the same past life, and she was a little nervous about saying, I think it's Atlantis. And I was like, this sounds like Atlantis. She goes, yes, yes, yes. So it was super cool. And we have been friends ever since. She has been on my retreat. And newsflash, everybody, Lisa and I will be doing a retreat next year. We'll have to get the specifics there, but we're doing a retreat next year, and we're doing a workshop next month. So I'll let you guys know a little bit about that after we have our little chit chat. So in closing, we'll let you in on that. And let's see, Stephanie. There's Stephanie Serby. Stephanie Serby is coming to her first Celebrate Your Life at Scamania
Awesome.
In August. So August 4th through the 7th. Super excited for you. Angel, hello. Lana Marie, hello. And Joy, good to see you. So Lisa, is there anything I left out about your background?
Nope, that's pretty
Okay.
good.
Okay. So how do we, if you want to tell people this a brief, story about what happened with you and how did you learn to trust your intuition again while going through all that?
Boy, isn't that a good question, Elias? Honestly, we we live in a condo, and I'll back the story up just a little bit for those of you who are new, and for those who have heard it, just hang tight. Uh, it was October 27th of 2021. I was downstairs with a client because I see clients out of my home, and the neighbor next door had a contractor working on a contractor working on her home, and he set fire to our condos. And so that day we had to leave our home and ended up being gone for 9 months. Lived in two different hotels for the first month, and then after that we found permanent housing in a furnished apartment. And that was October 27th, 2021. And then 3 weeks later, we were at an event down in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's a 2-day event. So Saturday night, I'm in the shower and I'm washing myself, and all of a sudden I'm like, I do, and I encourage every single woman who will listen to me, please, please, please do your self breast exams, because I get mammograms once a year, and I had one in February, and it was perfectly fine. And and I come out of the bathroom and I was like, "Babe, what do you think about this?" He's like, "Well, that doesn't feel right, but don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Let's just get through tomorrow, and then when we get home, you can, message the doctor." So I messaged the doctor on Monday, got in to see her on Tuesday. And this is what's interesting about it, and I don't know if I've ever told this part of the story, but when she was examining me, she didn't find it.
Hmm.
And she's saying to me, she goes, "Well, you're telling me you found a lump, but I'm not feeling anything. Show me where you see it, or show me where it's at." And I take her hand and I placed it where the lump was, and her face it was like all the color went out of her face. And she was like, "Okay, I'll be right back." So her assistant comes in and she says, "The doctor wants to send you for further testing." And I'm like, "Great, I'm cool with that." So I got in the very next day, which was Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I had a mammogram done, and then I had an ultrasound done. And then the one lady that was doing my ultrasound, she goes, "Well, stay right here." And she leaves the room and she comes back in with the radiologist, which is never a good sign if the radiologist is coming in to talk to you, right? There's always, it's like,
Right.
and next thing I know, I'm ushered to the room next door, and I'm talking to a nurse practitioner, and I'm walking out with this how to deal with cancer packet. And I was by myself. I didn't even think to have my husband come with me, or, anybody to go with me, because I wasn't really, thinking much more than, what this is, whatever. And so this was 3 weeks on the heels. We were still living in a hotel when that news
Hmm.
came. So I found out, on December 6th, they did a biopsy, and that's when I found out for sure that it was breast cancer. And it's I remember thinking then, how did I not know this was coming? How did I not find this? But, and Elias, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but it was about, I want to say a couple of years before I found out I had cancer, I had a dream, and a real good friend of mine who had passed away in 2016, his name was Mark Shirilla. He came to me in the dream and he took me into the afterlife. And we walk into this area that was literally like offices, and we walk up to this projection screen a gentleman that was with him pulls this projection screen down, and they started playing a movie of my life, and I'm just watching and watching. And then they said, and the guy's like pointing with like a pointer, and he's like this and this and this, and now he goes, you're going to get what is it? What kind of cancer was that? What's the cancer of the spleen? Not the spleen, but
Pancreatic?
yeah. He goes, now you're going to get pancreatic cancer. And on he was talking. I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I turn and I look at my friend. This was all in a dream. And I said, I know pancreatic cancer to be something that a lot of people can't come back from. I said, if I have to have a cancer experience, can't you make it something else? And they both look at each other and they said, we'll see what we can do. Right. So when it came to the diagnosis, obviously you're just like, anybody who's listening or anybody who's been through this or had family or anything, friends, whatever, it comes as quite a shock, right? It's like the one thing that everybody is concerned about hearing. And, so once we got over the initial shock of it, then it was who's going to listen to me? Who's going to actually come to me? Because if I couldn't find this within myself, how is anybody ever going to trust me again to guide them through spiritual awareness and how to tune into themselves? And I just had to trust. It just absolutely came down to trust of, I was told I was going to have cancer in this life, and here it was. What was I going to do about it? How was I going to live through it? And how was I going to live through it when I wasn't even in my own home? Because everything just like came on just like a tsunami. And and something even more interesting is I always felt like way down in my core I was going to be okay. And I was actually supposed to have surgery in January of that year, of the following year. So January of 2022 was like the third week of January. I was supposed to have surgery. They had lined up my lumpectomy with, fortunately, it was all I needed to have was a lumpectomy. And then they were going to do reconstructive surgery on both of my breasts at the same time. So it was going to be about a 5-hour procedure. And I ended up with COVID. So they had to postpone the procedure. And when they rescheduled my procedure, they weren't able to line up the plastic surgeon. So that was going to have to happen after everything, which is not ideal. But my surgery was rescheduled for February 2nd. So 2/2 of 2022. And as soon as I had the date, I knew I was going to be fine. Right. Because I knew it was happening on a magic day. I knew that, if the plastic surgeon couldn't be lined up, I was like, okay, it's all going to work out. I'll just have it later. And it ended up, I didn't even need it. You can't even tell I've been operated on. So spirit was watching out for me every step of the way. And what's interesting is we ended up having to leave that apartment because our insurance ran out, but our condo wasn't done yet. But all my therapies were complete. I had to have chemo, which is, those of you who haven't seen me in a long time, like Pat, these are my, I didn't realize I was so gray. And I feel like I look like that little munchkin that has that little spot.
You are so cute. So cute.
And I say I have fusilli hair, like all these little curls. But I just decided, whatever color my hair was going to come back, it was going to be that. And I just wore my bald head with a proudness about myself of, what, I don't care who knows. I don't care, how they find out. But going back to honoring it really was, just trusting that they had my back, trusting that they knew what I needed more than I knew what I needed, trusting that, whatever path we were on, there was going to be a higher mission and a higher service and a higher purpose for it. And perhaps it is just to have someone from the spiritual community go through this so that I can have a platform to help other people. you know?
And you
Um,
brought up some really good points, Lisa. Think about this, everybody. So she got the information in a dream and switched it, asked to switch it. You now, when you see clients, you can probably hone in and speak more to that point about whether it's breast cancer or having cancer. You can speak to it and speak from experience.
yeah,
And think about it too. The universe said, okay, you're going to go through this stuff, but we know that your home is your sanctuary, and we're going to take you out of that sanctuary and you put you somewhere else. So all that happens over here. So then you don't identify this with that room. Like, this is the room that I was sick in.
yep,
That's when I did this because I know how you are, because we're, simpatico in many ways. And
yep,
you would identify with that, and the universe had your back. And yes, you're a warrior and you are a survivor, but you are a warrior. And it's, I think, if I may say, please correct me if you don't feel this is correct, but I think it has strength in your faith and strength in
yeah,
your intuition.
yeah, yeah, I would absolutely agree with that, and, it's, and one other thing I can, one I found fascinating about my experience was the last day of my radiation treatment. I had 15 radiation treatments, was on a Thursday. And then that Friday of July, my dog found out, we found out my dog had cancer.
Mhm.
So I ended up losing him last October, which was just a horrible experience to go through. If anyone who's lost their fur babies knows. Um, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that every day was great, right? That I could hold my faith every day.
Great.
Because there were days where I was just like, I'm just so sick, or I'm just so tired, or I just don't know if I could, I don't know. Um, but there was always something in me that said, there's got to be something greater. There's got to be something greater here. There's got to be Pay attention, Lisa. What are the lessons here? What is this experience bringing you? It's bringing you closer to your husband. It's bringing you closer to your family. You have a great. I personally think I have a greater communion with God now than what I had before.
Sure.
I'm sorry that it took something so drastic for that to happen. Um, but and then just trusting myself and honoring myself. And I got to tell you, if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it, you know? Um, I'm not so quick to say yes to things. I really pay attention to, does it feel right to me? Is it something I want to get involved in? Is it an area of my life that I want um, my energy involved in? And I'm very selective. I'm very selective in how I move through life now.
Yep.
Um, Not saying that that it's perfect, and I'm not saying that I don't have days that fear creeps in, those kinds of things, because it's certainly on the 1 year of having that mammogram again, you're just holding your breath until they come out and say, "You're good. Don't need to
Yep.
see you for a year," which is, um but, the whole honoring part is just really diving in and not running from it, but diving in. I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of channeling, just not for anyone else, but for us. My husband would do that with me, so we could just really dive in and just really balance my energy and just really figure things out. And chemo almost killed me. It put me in the hospital for 7 days because it perforated my bowels. And then one could be like, okay, how much more can one take, really?
Right, right, and you
Um,
had it all. You
mhm.
had the fire, you had the COVID, you had the diagnoses, you had COVID again, you had, I mean, and I know all the other stuff that I'm not gonna share online, but you had a lot going on. Vicky says, "My
Yeah,
husband had
I'm so
terminal
sorry.
cancer, and during his last year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had 2 kids at home and just knew it was going to be okay. He died at home right after I completed radiation therapy. God
Wow.
bless, Vicky. God bless. And she says, I think you're always cautious after going through something like this. I hope I never hear the C word again. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. And it's always,
Yeah.
I don't know that there's ever going to be a day that it's ever going to completely be eradicated from the back of my mind, right?
No.
Um, that I think that's the human part of me. And you know, um, I'm not a Zen master. Certainly haven't mastered that at all. But
Right.
I am very clear with myself um about, what honoring myself is also what I'll allow myself to listen to. Programming that I'm listening to, or things that I get involved in. I just don't like getting involved in petty drama, right? There's just so many things that I've allowed myself to just step back from or step away from completely, because it just wasn't honoring me anymore. And that's what
Margie says once you have cancer, you always are way more tuned into your body and how you're feeling. Yes,
yeah,
so true.
that's so true, Margie.
Paula,
Yeah,
joy is not blocked and she's not deleted, honey. Um, so when I think you bring up a really good point. When you say that the honoring the intuition and saying, like, look at these, I think like God, universe, spirit gives us these little hints and says, here you go. For me, it was always worrying about, having older parents. When is mom and dad going to die? When is mom and dad going to die? What's happening? They're 80 and they're 90, and now they're 81 and 91. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And there, my dad had the stroke, and in the nursing home, my mom was sick. I go to the church by myself, and boom, there we go. I get that little voice, and I felt that tap on the shoulder, and one of your parents won't be here next year for Easter. If I didn't have that information, and I was brand new to understanding how this all works, and I was like, "What?" If I didn't have that tiny little hint, I probably would have been on some antidepressant drug. Not saying that that's bad, people, but some antidepressant drug and really just have lost it. I would have lost it. I would have probably just not have believed in this faith that I do of the afterlife, of how our loved ones are,
hmm,
there with it. I would not have been, I would not have learned mediumship. I would not have, like, it came through readings in the early stages, but I would have dived in, and I think it's really important that that we trust what we're getting, even if it doesn't make sense. Would you say?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I was faced with, or anybody that is faced with any type of terminal illness, is getting okay with your own mortality, right?
Mm,
Because the one thing that we know for sure is that all of us are going to die. We're all going to die, right? At some point.
right. Right.
So what it showed me is um, how beautiful life really is, and what have I perhaps taken for granted, or um, not really paying attention to my gratitude of the things I really did have. Um, and making sure that I was expressing more joy in every day of my life, seeing things, just walking to my car today, I took a picture of a beautiful flower, and not that I didn't commune with nature, but it's different now because it's deeper, and there's an appreciation for all cycles of everything, all cycles of all life. It just changes you, and it just
Totally.
really, you know, um, Is it the brick thrown at my head that I needed to learn to honor myself more? No, I'd hate to say that that's what it took to get there, but perhaps that is part of what the lesson is. Do I know fully what that lesson was all about? No, I don't even think I've touched the surface of it. I think I'll be spending the rest of my life working through that. I think I would be very um, naive to say that, got it, I know exactly what that lesson was for. No,
Sure. And
no, I
that's what
don't.
Margie brings up. Margie says she finds it's hard to accept that there's a lesson in everything, especially when it comes to loss and illness. For the most part, I can see lessons in life, but sometimes it's something you can't find answers to. No matter how hard you seek and go within the lesson, can't be realized. These are the moments that holding onto faith is hard. And I
Oh,
hear you, and
yeah, I
and
hear you.
most of us know that Margie lost her nephew
Oh,
um,
I'm so sorry.
just several weeks ago from brain tumor, and he was young, so very young, under 40.
Wow.
So you know, we don't always have the answers, and like you said, it's hard. And Margie, my heart goes out to you. Please know that. Pat Johnson says, I channeled through writing that mom would pass away within a year. She died 1 year, 1 month later, and I had the honor of taking care of her for the last month. You
Yeah.
know, and and I think, like you said, Lisa, we
Yep.
don't always know. Joyce says, learning what I have has finally brought me peace with loss of a couple people that I didn't think I could live without. I've also learned about grieving the loss of some still living. It's all humbled me and taught me true gratitude. Understand, understand. It's challenging. It's very challenging, and everybody has their own lesson. Everybody has their own way of learning all this stuff. And again, we're just bringing a point in about honoring your intuition even through difficult times. Like, my gut is telling me this. My gut is saying this is happening, or my gut is, I'm being directed in this way and I don't know why. So I think there's so much, and that's why I love the whole psycho spiritual piece of what we learn. Even though I don't have a degree, even though I was a psych major, I don't have a degree in it, but I can appreciate the pieces of that psychology part and the spiritual piece.
And this is perhaps something interesting to bring up. Um I did a mushroom journey, psilocybin to
Hmm.
most people. I did a journey. This has been a few months ago, and my intention was to go in and meet cancer. And I met her. I met her, and it was incredibly beautiful. I don't think I've told this story live. I don't think I've been on a live. Did we talk about this the last time I was on? Did I
You
ha,
told
ha
me, you told me, but we're not on a live.
okay. Um and I'm just, when you're in that journey, you're just doing all kinds of beautiful magical things inside yourself, right? And then all of a sudden I showed up in what seemed like a cave, and I'm like, ugh, why is it so dark in here? All of a sudden, it was just like, I was in this beautiful place, and then I'm just like, ugh, that looked like tar was dripping from the ceilings, and I was just like, ugh, this is gross. And I'm like, where am I? And I heard inside your tumor, and I was like, oh, whoa. So I literally didn't. I traveled inside it, like I was in it, um, I started asking questions about, why did you show up in this vessel, and it was contracted. It was something that I contracted before I came here. It was contracted that I would live through it. And i remember um I remember asking, was the lesson for me? And of course, yes, the lesson is for me, but they also said me having cancer also helped other people. And then I was projected to one of the times, that I had one of my radiation treatments. And I saw the three women that were in that room helping me. And I remember seeing myself laying on the bed. I was the radiation that I had, you laid face down, your breast hung through versus being on your back. And I remember I never saw their faces because my face was always facing down, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
remember seeing and looking at each one of them, and I was like, oh, so part of this contract for me to have cancer was to be here in this moment so these people could help me, right? So it was helping them through whatever their experience that they needed in the roles that they're playing as they're helping the patients. So, there's a lot of times that, we look at, well, why me? But what you don't realize is on the greater scheme of things, it was contracted before you came here, but it wasn't always it's not only just a lesson for you, but it's a lesson for everyone that gets involved in that experience, whether they're helping or they're just giving a kind word, or it's just an
Mm-hmm.
awareness, or maybe they share a story. Everyone is involved in it. Everyone's involved in it. So I thought that was incredibly profound. And when I came out, I had such a sense of peace over, okay. So if I had to be the vessel in order to carry myself forward into a different way of being here, great. Let me make sure that I don't forget that. But then also the people I helped through carrying the disease in my body, because they were able to help me heal.
Right.
It was very profound. It was incredibly profound. And we don't always think of things in that way, right? Like
Right.
who is learning from the experience I'm having?
Right. I have to apologize to Margie O'Brien. She was saying I was speaking of Margie, Margi, and on my screen, um, because StreamYard, when you're scrolling on StreamYard, it doesn't always show the comments. So when I scrolled up, it said Margie, and then I didn't see that it was you, Margie O'Brien. So she said she lost her son in October from treatment-induced leukemia after winning his battle against Ewing sarcoma. He was only 13, and he was a true sense of an earth angel, and so needed in this earth to teach pure, unconditional
Yep.
love, compassion, and kindness. But he was taken home. So sorry, the other Margie, for your tremendous loss. Prayers, feeling for you and your family, and also Margie, for you as well. Also Margie, for you as well. Please know, from my heart, it's you know, it's I have seen, heard, felt, and I know you as well, um, have seen it about death, and how we had a beautiful person on she was on retreat with us in Ecuador, and I'm just gonna refer a book real quick. Hang on one second. Um, Her name is um, Kathleen L. Sorry, Willow, stay right there. Okay, or leave. Um, and this is called Shattered Together by Kathleen L. A Mother's Journey from Grief to Belief, a guide to help you through sudden loss.
Oh, wow.
And this is Kathleen. She came to Ecuador with us, and it's a great book. It's a great book, Margie. Um, and it looks, you can see it's a shattered heart, but that is the profile of her son. And her son left this world on his own accord. So she wrote a whole book on it, and she does grief retreats. And she is
Hmm.
a beautiful woman. I should have her back on again. She was really really powerful. So I don't know, um, Margie O'Brien, if you're interested in this book, but it's a great book
Oh, it
by
sounds like it would be
Kathleen
an
L.
amazing
Yeah,
read.
yeah. Sorry, I had a
Well,
thanks, Priscilla.
I mean, when you think about
Thanks, Laura.
like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, that didn't happen until a mother lost her child to a drunk driver, right?
Right.
Or like that gentleman who I can't think of his name right now, but he started like that whole FBI thing where you find missing and exploited children.
Oh yes,
Well,
yes, yes,
that
yes.
didn't happen until someone uh, did that to his son. I forget his name, and I'm sorry that I'm at a loss for his name right now. But so we don't know the greater scheme of what all of these experiences And if we get into our, oh, woes are us, or oh, woes are me, or why me's, I never once, from the moment I found my lump, never one time has why me has ever come out of my mouth. John Walsh, that's it. John Walsh.
Yeah.
It's never come out of my mouth. It was always, what am I to learn from this? And how am
Right.
I to move through this? And what do I need to do to beat this? If that's the way this is going to go, if that's the way it's supposed to go, lead me, guide me, show me, so that I can come out this other side a greater version of myself and live from that place.
Right.
That is how I have made it through this experience, and that is how I have honored myself, is by living that truth.
And that's the important piece here, is living in that truth. Hi Ginger. Ginger Perrick, Healing Heart Medium.
Hi,
Uh
Ginger.
Ginger was on the last retreat with me, co-facilitating the last retreat. And it is about stepping in that truth, at whatever that truth may be. And like we have said, we don't know. We don't know where this
Mm-mm.
journey takes us. Vicky says prayers and blessings for your continued journey,
Thank
since
you,
you are
Vicky.
still very early in this journey.
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
And I'm just going to say this. Please know not to take away what Lisa has mentioned, but many of you know that I was sexually molested when I was younger, and there's an issue that I have now in that region, and I sat with it, and there is fibrotic tissue in that region, and I sat with it. I'm like, what the heck now? And I feel it's like, as I said, so I confronted the person that molested me on the phone. Um, he lives in Crete, and he sloughed it off like it was nothing. So I feel like I am healing those scars,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, it is painful. I will tell you, it's painful. But and I don't want this. Please know, guys, I don't want this to be about me. But I will just tell you that um, I thought about that. I'm like, what is wrong with this section of me? What has happened? Now, even as I'm talking, I feel like I'm like, uh-oh, but it's releasing all that scar tissue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anyway, so I think we all are warriors, everybody on here. We all have a journey. We all have a understanding that our journeys might not be the same, but we're all on this path of higher learning and standing in our truth. That's what I was
Yes.
trying to go after.
Yeah. And then one can look at this from the perspective of Louise Hay, who was a famous author. Hay House is still her, um, is still running beautifully today. But she wrote a book when she was in her, I think, 40. You Can Heal Your Life, and in that, if you look up cancer. Or if you look up the breast, the breast or the ability to mother. Well, I never had children in this lifetime. So, one might look at that and go, well, you never had the opportunity to mother, and it's that absence of mothering. Um, um, I don't think any of that is wrong. Um, um, there's so many different things that you can look at from this perspective, and I think all of it's valid. I say look at every angle.
Yep,
I mean,
agreed.
pull the rug up, look at everything. Look at everything. And one of the big things I have looked at is my inner child, and how did she feel about all of this? And there's some fantastic work. Um, Power of the Other Hand is one book she wrote, and Recovering the Inner Child is another one, Lucia Capicione. And I started doing that Recovering the Inner Child book, and it was amazing what she was saying to me, right? When I was not only I was honoring myself through honoring her and giving her a voice and finding out what her perspective was and what did she need. And absolutely, Ginger, the need to mother myself, right? Because I have always been someone who takes care of everybody else, and I was always, I was always down there, right? Like, like a lot of us do. And yeah, it all of a sudden I had to flip myself back up and go, okay, now there's a priority here.
Right.
You have to make yourself a priority, and you have to start honoring yourself, honoring what your needs are and what your desires are, and how to fulfill that.
Dolores
So
says, during a guided meditation 2 years after chemo, I discovered my body was still holding the space where my removed parts had been. I had to accept those dark pockets and renew and reunite them with my being.
yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. That's so
Yeah,
wonderful that you've done that, Delora. That's wonderful.
it's amazing. And I know, guys, that we're touching on topics that are a little challenging to hear, but again, I wanted to bring Lisa on so we can see what happens as you go through it and get to the other side. I mean, again, we never know the true why. You know, uh, um, Dr. Sue Morter wrote a book called The Energy Codes, and she talks about the soul contract and what that's all about. And, Ginger, you, myself, Margie's learning to do Margie, uh, I should say on here, um, Margie with a J. Margie J is learning mediumship, and those of us that do mediumship, a lot of information is brought up from the other side. And let's just talk about this momentarily. Um, Ginger says they need to be spoke about out loud. Children are to be seen. Yes, that's so true. My mom always believed that. My mom always said that, she encouraged me to speak up. But I had to do it politely. I had to do it politely. This one here, you don't, it always was prim and proper. But she wanted, my cousin always says, I loved your mom because she always, when we were sitting at the table, she always looked at us and asked us questions like, how was school going? She was engaging, and
Hmm.
that was really important. While the other relatives were, some of them, like, children were made to be, um,
Seen but not
seen
heard.
out of heard. Right, exactly. Excuse me. Um, so when you do your trance channeling, has um, have you ever heard anything about your journey through the trance channel?
I have. I can tell you, gosh, I had my surgery in February. I think I had had one chemo treatment, but I don't think I'd had the second one. And we channeled, and unbeknownst to me, consciously at that time, um, they told me through the channel that I had not decided if I was going to stay. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember coming out of that, I was like, I'm staying. I'm staying. Are you hearing me? I'm staying.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
was like, right then I had to make that, like, because I could have left. I mean, because little did I know, after the second treatment is when my bowels perfed, right? And like, there's
Right.
a I think it's called peritonitis or something like that you can get when that happens. And yeah, so anyway, um so that happened. So my bowels perfed, and then it's like 1 week after I got out of the hospital, I was supposed to have my third treatment. I went in for it, got all hooked up for it, and the doctor said, "You're done. We're not doing any more treatments on you. If we do, your bowels will perf again, and you may not be as
Hmm.
lucky this time. So we're just going to consider this the 1-2 punch, and you're done." So, but I would say, every time we've channeled. It's just more about assimilation,
Mm.
still assimilating to the whole process. And because it
Hmm.
was a lot, having the fire, not being home, um, and then losing my dog to cancer,
Great.
right? Like, it's just, it was like, okay, I know he was trying to take cancer from me. I know that's what
Right.
he did.
Right.
I know that's
Agreed.
what he did. Um, and then having to live with the guilt of my little fur baby wanting to help me so much and love me so much that he did that for me. So it's just, yeah, they've been wonderful. The spirit has actually been quite wonderful through this whole thing, and very understanding when I've gone in and I'm upset or angry, or um, needing guidance myself, or just helping me when I just want to touch in and make sure I'm honoring myself in the right way. Because I don't
Right.
just channel when I'm looking for answers, but I channel just for validation as well. Like, are we doing this right, or are we in the right direction, or are we doing what we should be doing? And um, all of it. It's just been when you look back on it, um, quite an incredible journey to be through, for sure. And to be in the line of work that I'm in, I have to walk my talk, right?
Right. So true. Sue says, you're going, you know, going, you're having the fire. Love you, Lisa. You've been such a savior in my life.
Oh, I Sue. Yeah, she's
So wonderful.
wonderful.
Dolores says, I remember the surrender. It required to show up time after time and allow the poison to be put into your body. And everybody has such a different story and a different experience. Like Jacob is saying, thank you both for sharing. So many of our ancestors did not share, and we need this perspective.
So
Exactly.
I'd like to talk a little bit about Delora, and allowing them to put poison in our bodies. So here's Delora. This is how I worked through that. Um, I have a dear friend of mine who's also a trance channel, and she survived cancer. And she said to me, Lisa, she goes, yes, chemo is it's a really difficult drug. It is like a poison, right? But if you look at it as a poison, then it goes in harming the body as a poison. Um, and I remember she said, Lisa, she goes, when they hook you up, I want you when it first starts to go into the body, she goes, I want you seeing it going in with, like, hearts, right? See it going in as love, that it's going to go in, and then it's going to move into all of the cells that don't belong in the body, and it's going to eradicate them, right? And so that's what I did. And I remember when they first hook you up, there's it's really crazy. It's really crazy. They've got this emergency kit over there in case you have an anaphylactic situation. And I mean, it's just insane. And they double up with all these gloves. Now, I didn't have any of the red devil or anything like that, but some of them, they wear masks and all that because it's so toxic that they don't want to get it on their skin because it's that
Hmm.
dangerous to them. Never once did I look at chemo in that way. Even when it perforated my bowels, I didn't look at it that way because it's what's it's the reason I'm still here, right? Because it did the 1-2 punch. And as it was going into my body, what I did is I meditated on the flow of love of what that medicine was created for, right? I truly believe that there's a place for natural healing, and I believe that there's a place for these medicines. Because who do you think gave these doctors and the inventors of these medicines this divine medicine? Right?
Right. Right.
That's how I looked at it. Is, someone was getting a download from somewhere and found that it can attack these particular cells and it can eradicate it out of the body, right? So I just meditated on, as as that medicine was going in, I literally saw it turning into heart. I literally saw this in my head as it was going into my veins. I literally saw it starting to just, like, explode, like those emojis where the, like, hearts just kind of go
Yeah.
flying across the screen. That's it. I swear to God, that's exactly how I saw it. And then I just surrendered. I just surrendered. And I said, okay, I know I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. It's not fun. It's not pleasant. Yes, it makes you sick. And, but the doctors managed all of that for me. And I never threw up, but I had a lot of nausea, but that was all managed, right? It was all managed. And, so, it's all in how you see it. It's all in how you see it. And if you don't honor yourself where you are, you know what? I honored the tears and I honored the fears. And
Mhm.
that's what it was all about. But I didn't let them own me. I didn't let them own me. My husband will tell you, he's like, you're just, you know, um, it just, it's a journey. It's a very personal journey. I didn't play it out on any type of social media. I didn't play it out in any way that way because it was very personal to me. Um, And like I said, there were days where it was way more difficult than others, but I never once went into any of those therapies thinking this is poison to my body. I always went into it with, thank you, God, that someone had this information and that it's here to help me now.
Yeah. Excellent. Dolores says during my first info meeting, the head nurse handed me a biohazard bag kit and told me to carry it everywhere in the event I have a leak. I didn't feel authorized for this. Mm.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And, all of you, every single one of you, I'm sure, has a story. Every single one of you has some sort of warrior story. Those scars, those wounds, those battle wounds, you have them and you have moved through. Some are still wondering, some have, it doesn't matter where you are on the journey. The piece of you just moving forward, even if it's a one tiny step, is so important. And that's why we bring up this honoring your intuition. Go within, ask God, universe, divine source, spirit, Buddha, Allah, Shaka Khan, whatever you want to say, ask and see what you get. Um, I think, this whole month is all about honoring. And you brought up about that little girl on July 26th, or your inner child. Um, Intisar Ben Halim, she's a licensed clinical social worker. She's been on with before. She does Gestalt work. And we're going to talk about honoring our inner journey. So, or inner jury, whichever you want. Um, but please come in and join us for that, everyone, and Lisa, you as well. Um,
Sounds great.
where does this hour go? It goes so quick. It
Yeah.
goes so
I
quick.
don't know.
All the time with you, so quick. But I do have to tell you this, guys. I haven't made the flyer yet, and I haven't told the website person yet, and actually none of the admins know either. But August 19th, 8 a.m. Pacific, um, 11 o'clock Eastern, Lisa and I are teaching a class, a different kind of class, manifesting with intention, using your intuition to tap into what you need. Different than what you want, it's what you need. So, manifesting with intention, using your intuition to tap into what you need. August 19th, write it down, lock it in, and I'll have a flyer after I figure out how to put it together, which I know how to put it together, but I need Lisa's approval and all that other stuff. And but please mark it down. Also, um, tomorrow starts Get Your Groove Back. So Get Your Groove Back is a 4-week course, and that 4-week course is about your soul contract, your listening to that chaotic noise, and how do we switch out of that, the inside and the outside chaotic noise. It's also about um, facing your fears and trusting your instincts. So that's what we're doing starting every Thursday of July. And then on the 29th of July, Delora and I are doing a class, And that class, I'm really excited. It's a brand new class, everyone. It's a brand spanking new class. And it's called Change Your Trait with Color. We're gonna have a
Oh,
questionnaire. I know, because Delora is now a color coach as a mom.
awesome.
And we did this class with Dougal Fraser. And we're gonna use a questionnaire to figure out which is your trait, your predominant trait. Are you a people pleaser, an intuitive, a nurturer, an empath, a perfectionist, a control freak, or a fixer? And then we're going to figure out what that is, and then we're going to give you a color, and then that's like an intro, and then okay, everybody on here, it's going to be a class after that, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Yellow, what is yellow? Well, you'll have to find out, Stephanie. You'll have to find out. Lisa says, or Judy says, Lisa, remind me about the class.
Oh, hi,
Yeah,
Judy.
as soon as I give her the flyer, she'll send it out to her peeps. And yes, you can, if you guys are interested, you can email Lisa or myself. And then, but it'll be the best thing is to get on our emails. That way we send them out. When I'm doing the August flyer, it will be on that flyer. So it's going to be a really good class. But I would say get your groove back, do that, and then do this class. You're going to have a great thing. You also are doing private sessions as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yep.
And then you've got anybody local, because you're in Ohio. And anybody local, you've got some things coming up.
Columbus, Ohio. Yep. The first Thursday of every month, I do a development circle in person at the Reiki Center. So doing that tomorrow. And then I believe it's on Saturday, the 15th, I've got a beginning mediumship course in person. And,
Awesome.
I have a fun little note. I was at dinner with some friends, and on the way out of the restaurant bar, they have these little machines that the pull tab games, right?
Yes.
And this is just another way of honoring yourself, right? And honoring your intuition. I'm getting ready to leave, and I'm like, little birdie kept saying, you should just buy a pull tab. You should just buy a pull tab. And I'm like, but how many? And I pulled out $2, and I heard, no, you're supposed to buy 3. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy 3. And I won $250 today on a pull tab and it was that third ticket that I bought. So
Yes.
just honoring your intuition, you guys. Honor your intuition. Honor that little voice that tells you yes or no or maybe or not yet or not now. All those things. I mean, I'm constantly in conversation with my higher self.
So important. So important. And Stephanie says, so overwhelmed with all these classes. Are they all on your website now? Yes, Stephanie. And if you were part of the email, look what you would have gotten. You would have gotten this cute little event calendar that has everybody's. So look at there's Lisa's picture. And look, what we got coming up next is Rachel Elizabeth is going to be talking about honoring your mindset shift. And shh, there's a summer sizzle sale. She's going to sell some of her jewelry and her cabochons, not her cabernets, which is what I want to call it, but it's cabochons. And this is what she makes. Isn't this beautiful, Lisa?
Oh,
She makes a
wow.
tree of life. Her grandmother always loved trees. And after her grandmother passed, she got this information about how to make these
Wow.
trees. So she makes these beautiful, beautiful pendants. So she's having a sale, but we're gonna have a little chit chat before the sale. Thanks, Delora. And there it is. Get your groove back. And we got the special this, and we got so many stuff. Yeah, check your spam. Go into the email when this is done. Okay. Lisa, always, you are welcome. Irma said she could listen to you for another hour. So can I.
Oh,
So
thank
can I.
you.
And
I'm grateful. Thank you.
it is always good to have you here. You are welcome
I'm
anytime you want.
grateful to be here and to be heard for sure.
Yes. And look, don't we look alike? Don't
We
we look
do.
like we're related? Look, we could look related, you know. even though you can't see my hazel eyes because they look brown on this one.
Your little
But we
curls.
are, yes, and the curls. Look at the curls. Whoa. Okay. All right,
And I'm
everybody.
so gray, just like Elias.
But your gray's pretty. It's like a creamy. Mine's like this white silver color, especially on the side. Yours is a creamy gray. I like it.
I need to update my photo because all my little curls.
Your little curls. Yes. I did this. I'm like, look, I could be Desmond Tutu. I could just like anyway, thank you for the giggles. Lisa, hold that phone
I love you, my
for a moment.
friend. Bye,
Um,
everyone.
and you hold the phone, Lisa, and everyone else. Remember, we are here to connect. And when we connect, we educate. And when we educate, we grow. And look, guys, we put it on a plaque. Connect, educate, and grow. Love it. All right, everyone. From my heart to yours, thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for being so open. We appreciate you. Be well, everyone.